And thank you all again for your participation on this special committee and your indulgence in allowing for this additional meeting. During today's meeting, we will hear from staff of both the Wisconsin Center District and Visit Milwaukee, and then we will have the opportunity to ask them questions. Before we begin, I want to remind the committee of a few things. The special committee was formed to conduct a comprehensive review of the highest and best use evaluations findings and to provide informed recommendations to the board. The committee's role is to ensure any future decisions are thoughtful, data-driven, and grounded in responsible governance. I ask you all to please refer to our charter when considering questions to ask our presenters. As a reminder, our charter asks us to consider whether Milwaukee needs to pursue a convention center hotel, and if so, where should it be located? Is the WCD the catalyst for getting a convention center hotel sited, financed, and built, or is there a different, better catalyst? Finally, I want to remind you that it is the expectation of this committee that we remain respectful of one another and guests throughout our discussion. Let's remain professional and extend courtesy at all times. I want to thank you all for your thoughtful participation today. And with that, I'd like to welcome Marty Brooks and his team from Wisconsin Center District and Peggy Williams-Smith and her team from Visit Milwaukee to present their thoughts on the highest and best use evaluation and its recommendations. I ask that we allow them to complete their presentation before asking questions. We can. We could take the roll. Robin?
And Bob Bauman.
Here.
Mr. Grady Crosby.
Here.
Mr. Jim
Here.
Cantor. Mayor Dennis McBride.
Here.
Mr. Gerard Randall. Ms. Liz Sumner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Okay, so second item is the discussion and approval of past meetings minutes. Comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Motion for approval. Thank you, Alderman Bauman. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. With that, we will move on to item number 3, which I think I already covered. So let's do item 4.
Is that my cue? Thank you. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for allowing the Wisconsin Center District and Visit Milwaukee teams to address you this morning. We're here today to assist in answering the questions posed in your charter. Shortly, you'll be hearing from Visit Milwaukee's and the WCD's subject matter experts. But before I turn the presentation over to Peggy Williams-Smith, President and CEO of Visit Milwaukee, I want to remind you of why we initially engaged Hunden Partners and how their scope changed. Since 1994, the city and county of Milwaukee, along with the state of Wisconsin, have placed its confidence in the Wisconsin Center District to care for some of the city's most important civic spaces, places that have long defined downtown and brought people together across generations. That responsibility has never been taken lightly. Our focus has been on stewardship, reinvestment, and ensuring these facilities remain viable, vibrant, competitive, and relevant. As responsible stewards, it is also our obligation to look honestly and thoughtfully at the future of all of the facilities under our care. It is that approach that inspired the expansion of the now thriving Baird Center. This year, the Miller High Life turns 117, while Panther Arena turns 76, milestones that reflect just how deeply these buildings are woven into Milwaukee's story. Their age also means thoughtful planning is essential. As a responsible organization, we felt we needed to do something that, as far as we could determine, no one had ever done before. Ask uncomfortable questions and gather the needed information to take an honest look at what uses of these properties would make the most positive impact on the city and the community. To help inform this conversation, we commissioned independent third-party studies by Hunden Partners and PC Sports. Neither of these studies was ever intended to be the written roadmap for any actions. Quite the contrary. They were intended to provide WCD management and the WCD board with information to be considered in discussions about the future of the WCD, its assets, and Milwaukee. Short term, I was seeking not just what could be done, I was looking for insight when opportunities would or should be pursued, and to provide guidance into the contract length we should consider in new agreements with the Milwaukee Admirals and UWM, as their agreements for use of the Panther Arena expire in 2027 and 2029, respectively. Another convention center hotel was not the objective of the Hunden study until the May 2025 board meeting, when the WCD board directed me to broaden the scope of Hunden's study to include looking at 6 sites for a potential another convention center hotel. What the Hunden study has successfully achieved is that active, open discussions have begun about whether another convention center hotel is necessary, after which, when, where, and how will need to be considered. Not the original intent of the study, but a great outcome nonetheless. Lastly, when the expansion of the Baird Center was envisioned, the goal was to create a facility capable of hosting multiple concurrent and overlapping events. What we have experienced since opening the North Building is even more encouraging than what we had anticipated. The building's design, sustainability leadership, and national recognition have attracted interest from organizations that historically only considered much larger cities. Through our collaboration with Visit Milwaukee, we have learned that Milwaukee's current hotel package is a barrier to securing many of these opportunities, as we are often unable to convert strong interest into confirmed events, leaving millions of dollars in potential economic impact unrealized by our city. The Hunden study is about more than adding hotel rooms. It's about ensuring Milwaukee can fully compete in the meetings, conventions, sports, entertainment, tourism, and hospitality industries, while welcoming visitors that support our restaurants, local businesses, our workforce, and the long-term vitality of our community. Thank you, and I now turn the presentation over to Peggy.
Thank you, Marty. Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of this conversation. Before we begin, I want to introduce the team that I have here today with me. I have Leslie Johnson, our Chief Sales Officer, Josh Albrecht, our Chief Marketing Officer, and Claire Hanen, our Vice President of Communications and Advocacy. We're here today in large part because the leaders on the Wisconsin Center District Board, all of you, were instrumental in advocating and ultimately executing the expansion of the Baird Center. That significant investment for this community, and one that positioned us to compete for larger conventions and events. We're very grateful to see the fruits of these efforts every single day. At Visit Milwaukee, our role is to promote Milwaukee as a destination and drive tourism to our region. The majority of our county's $4 billion tourism economy comes from leisure travel, with people coming to experience our festivals, our restaurants, lakefront arts and culture, and everything that makes Milwaukee one of a kind. Today, we're here to talk about another important part of our tourism economy, and that is our convention, meeting, and sports business. The expansion of the Baird Center was a generational investment in Milwaukee's success. The question now is how we maximize that investment and ensure that it can reach its full potential. We thought this would be a good opportunity to share our firsthand perspective from the convention marketplace. This includes what we are hearing directly from meeting planners on the trade show floor, insights from our client advisory board, which includes about 20 planners that represent a wide range of conventions and events, both existing customers and aspirational customers, and additional data from our industry partners. We hope this perspective can complement the findings in the study and provide additional context from the front lines of selling Milwaukee as a convention destination. We also hope this can be a discussion, so please feel free to ask questions. Today, we're going to share what we're seeing in the market, what planners are telling us, how Milwaukee compares to the cities that we compete with every day, and where we hope we can build upon our collective effort in the future. Our goal is to help inform the conversation about what it takes to compete for convention business today and what that could mean for Milwaukee moving forward. Like I said, our mission is to bring visitors to the region, promote our businesses to those travelers. In addition, we also brand and market the city. There's no one else that does what we do for the city of Milwaukee and the region. And in 2025, 84%, I want to explain a little bit about the relationship with the district. Sorry. So 84% of Visit Milwaukee's revenue is generated through hotel room tax, which is collected per state statute through the Wisconsin Center District. Visit Milwaukee is based off prior year's room tax. Therefore, what we do is imperative to both the success of the WCD and Visit Milwaukee. It's not just about the business that we put into the convention center. It's about everyone who stays overnight in the city and the county and in the region that helped to make us successful, both of us successful. So Liz asked us to present today to get our thoughts on the highest and best use study conclusions. So we did do that on the screen. So there were 3 conclusions that were drawn to this study. First one was a new headquarters hotel is essential to maximize the investment in Baird Center. We fully agree with that statement. Creating neighborhood infrastructure in the area of Milwaukee is important to foster stronger residential, retail, and restaurant demand to ensure success. Public activated green spaces and programming is lacking in the district. We always support more choices for visitors that give them more reasons to want to come and visit us. The UWM Panther Arena is an important asset to the district and should continue to function as a key anchor to ensure the ability of the WCD to fulfill its mission. We fully agree with that statement. We are partners with both UWM and with the Admirals. We know how important they are to this community and we want to continue to see them thrive. It's important to note that the report did not conclude with a timeline, a specific date, or identifying funding sources. Many key elements that would need to be in place before a project like this could ever move forward. And just as important, we're not advocating for a convention hotel, another convention hotel in the immediate future. What we want to do is begin a thoughtful, long-term conversation. Projects of this scale take many years of study, planning, and collaboration before they ever become reality. And we know that from the genesis of the expansion of the convention center. It was supposed to happen within 5 years of the original building in 1998. It took 25 years to get the expansion. We need to continue to explore data, gather information, and evaluate what it could mean for Milwaukee, and will help that we position our city to remain a destination of choice well into the future. So now I'm going to turn it over to Leslie.
Thank you, Peggy. We thought it would be really important to start to share with you, what is it that meeting planners look for when considering a destination to host their meeting or convention? First and foremost is always going to be, do they have enough hotel rooms to accommodate my attendees? Next is going to be, do they have the meeting space to be able to accommodate my exhibit hall, my breakout rooms, my ballrooms, whatever the needs are for their particular convention? With the expansion of the Baird Center, it's drawn the attention that many planners that had not considered Milwaukee before, it is now, now they're considering Milwaukee. And we're seeing these opportunities come to our organization, and we do our best to be able to fit what we currently have with our current hotel package and the expansion of the convention center and our current event space that's available at our hotels to accommodate them. But for many planners, we're not even in consideration yet because of their current perception or knowledge of what our city does have, and their willingness to we'll talk about it a little bit later, but their willingness to go into many contracts to accommodate their groups. Third, is the amenities of the city. The planners want to make sure that their attendees experience in and around the cities is enjoyable. They want to feel and be safe. They want them to have places to explore and dine and experience and things that they want them to be able to do things that they can't do in their own hometowns. And Milwaukee offers so many of those experiences. And then the last is going to be airlift. How easy is it for their attendees to get to the destination? And as you saw in our last business report that Hunden provided, airlift can be a factor in the decision, but very rarely is it the main factor for their decision. To help support these talking points, we are going to provide you with a recent survey that was done by ASAE, the American Society of Association Executives, called the Omnibus Survey. And they put this out on behalf of destinations and their partners to do a survey so that we can continue to fully understand what's most important for planners. And then we can share that we will be sharing that with you. So it's a very lengthy report, so you can read at your leisure. So as Peggy mentioned, what's important to us is that we find that our need is to have a convention center hotel within a certain radius. It's important for meeting planners to be able to have their hotel inventory be close to where their event is taking place. And if it's going to be at the Baird Center, this kind of gives you an idea of the radius of what would be ideal from our perspective for hotel development. Okay, so on this slide, in Milwaukee, we consider a citywide group to be a group that has 750 rooms or more. And that would mean that they would have to utilize at least 2 hotels to accommodate them in what would start to cause compression within the city. We say our sweet spot is a group that is about 750 rooms to 1,250 peak for our current hotel inventory. Now we can say that we have roughly 7,000 available rooms in the downtown market, but as you can see, once we get over that 1,250 rooms, we have to utilize 5 hotels. And that's in the perfect world, meaning each of those 5 hotels gives me their maximum amount available of rooms for a group. And so from a planner's perspective, that gets to be a little cumbersome, as it means I have to negotiate 5 different contracts with 5 different hotels, 5 different terms, along with the 2 contracts that they have to sign here at the convention center. And for those that have ever negotiated contracts or negotiated hotel contracts, you're taking on a lot of liability on anticipation that those attendees are going to stay in the hotels that you've asked them to stay in and meet the terms of the contract. So in Milwaukee, we're going to sign 7 contracts for a group of 1,250 rooms. Whereas I just using 2 examples here, Columbus and Kansas City, they can accommodate a group of that size within 2 hotels and then their convention center. So this is definitely a challenge that we have on a regular basis in our office, and we do our best to accommodate. And we've gotten many groups to agree to these to signing up to 26 contracts, as we've heard before, to bring their convention here because they do really want to be here.
I think it's just important to emphasize that everything we're saying is not that we're not utilizing everything we can. This team is incredibly impactful at making sure that every single site tour we do sees the best that Milwaukee has to offer. Our existing hotel partners are doing that as well. So we are capturing the business we can when we can overcome what Leslie just talked about. And it's so important when you look at this because this is 5 contracts. And if you think about it, and I don't know if you know the terms attrition, if you know the terms cancellation, but these are all things. And there's a specific example that's happening right now for us with one of our groups where they have booked into 2 of the hotels. A 3rd hotel, which wasn't contracted, has availability. So they've put rooms on the market. So now the 3rd hotel that was contracted for this upcoming group has fallen into attrition. So this group that's coming in is now going to have to pay attrition because they had to go with more hotels. If they would have went with 2, they wouldn't have fallen into it. So every time a group wants to come to Milwaukee right now, they are taking a chance that we're going to help them put them into the right hotels.
What's paying attrition?
So that's when you, Leslie, go ahead and explain
Yeah.
it.
So when you sign it, we'll use simple math here. So if you contract a hotel for 100 rooms, you as the organization or individual that's signing that contract, you are responsible. Typically, it's going to be 80% of the attrition. So you're responsible for 80 rooms. So
You're guaranteeing that revenue.
you're guaranteeing that revenue to that hotel with that attrition clause. And the hotels are definitely going to make sure that they have an attrition clause to protect their inventory to ensure that they're going to capture that revenue because they're going to turn away other business because they're guaranteed that revenue. So in Peggy's example, we have 3 hotels because we weren't able to accommodate, and this is a group of about 800 people. Because of the timing of when they booked, our hotels had already booked other business. There's other conventions that were taking place. So they had to utilize 3 hotels to get that. And I don't even know if they did even up to 800 because some of those are local attendees. So say 600 rooms. So they have 3 different blocks at 3 different hotels. And so 2 of the hotels they are fine with because they are, some of it has to play into rate, right? So if you're as an attendee, cost-conscious traveler, I'm going to stay at the least expensive hotel. And so they've already filled their blocks. But one of the hotels, because it's March and it's Wisconsin and there were not a lot going on in their hotel, they extended the block and allowed more people to stay there. Well, that then caused that 3rd hotel to not fill their block. So they only have 60% of their room block filled right now. So that means that other 20%, this organization, which is a non-for-profit organization that doesn't have the money to do that, now has to foot that bill. So that's what happens when you have 7, 8 different contracts out there. They're taking that responsibility and liability for every one of those contracts. And so from an organization standpoint, the risk is a lot less when there's just the 2 contracts that they have out there. Does that help answer your question? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so this is the same graph that you saw on page 12 in the Hunter report. The information on this page consists of group opportunities that Visit Milwaukee received in 2022 through a portion of 2025. The top graph represents where those group opportunities would have actualized had they booked in our city. A couple of things to keep in mind with this data. 2022 to mid 2023, we were still battling post-COVID booking trends, meaning that groups that would have been sourcing new destinations for their meetings had COVID not happened, weren't, because they were rebooked into the cities in which they were contracted in 2020. We saw that here in Milwaukee as well. So overall, the lead volume was down. In 2024 is when we as the city saw a sizable lift in our lead volume, mainly due to the anticipation of the opening of the Baird Center. However, there were planners who were hesitant to book before centers actually opened. So post the expansion and hosting Connect Marketplace, we really saw a significant increase in our leads. And then 2025 was really the first year where we had the expansion fully open and operational to sell into. And this information is just reflecting a portion of that, because this is up till September of 25, sorry. Also, in the additional resources that we will be providing you, you will be receiving the definition of each one of the loss codes that are utilized. What we learned from Hunden, what they did is they would take certain categories and group them together to keep this data kind of more concise. So what we are going to provide you with all of the loss reasons and the definitions and how our team identifies where we would code those. Yeah, next slide. So as I mentioned, the earlier side was a mashup of the numbers. So we wanted to give you just a quick snapshot of what 2025 lost business looked like. A year where we had the convention center open and we're able to host a number of planners into the city to experience it. The numbers that we are noting are economic impact for each of those categories. For these are the groups that range from taking place anywhere, could have been 2025 all the way through 2034. So when we looked at selected another geographical location, a lot of times we're going to utilize this category when we don't have a specific reason, where the client didn't say this is the exact reason we're going somewhere else, but we're not going to Milwaukee. So that could be between your hotel, your airlift, it could be your convention center, whatever it might be. They just chose not to come. Next, lack of response is pretty common. Planners are going to source a number of different locations, those that they hear from, that have the dates and the availability and the pricing that they're looking for. They're just going to forge forward with those, and oftentimes they just don't reply to the other cities that are bidding due to time. The other one is convention center available over for the requested dates. So again, the popularity of the convention center, the center is not always going to be available, and of course we have our peak season where a lot of our groups like to come to Wisconsin, that we may not have it available. But then when we start to get into our fourth and fifth top reasons is either not enough peak room nights available. So that could be, I want, perfect example, like I want that 600 rooms and I want it in 1 or 2 hotels. I can't get there. Therefore, I can't get to my peak room nights, or there's something else going on in the city and we truly aren't able to accommodate the size of the group. And then the other one is going to be hotel package did not meet the planner's requirements. The requirements could be, they want it under 1 roof, they want it within walking distance, they want it within 2 hotels. A lot of different explanations that are given to us would fall into this particular category.
I just want to note that if you go back, so on the Hunden report, they did everything in room nights.
Yep.
Ours is in dollars associated with those room nights. And just to be clear, this is economic impact, not direct economic. So there's that additional spend that comes with it in food and beverage and things of that nature. We don't get specific hotel rates. Obviously, that's collusion. So we don't get to see a lot of those contracts come back. So we can't give you specifics as to how much that is. But when you look at something like, 477,000 room nights lost in 2025, and then you break it down, which is on page 56 in your report, that is not the number lost, that's the number of rooms, and you have to times that times rate and what they would spend here in our community.
So when we were looking at that data, those are just the groups that we know about. Those are the groups that called us, talked to us, and told us that they were interested in our city, but unfortunately we weren't able to make it happen for them. So I worked with an organization called CVent. It's the #1 sourcing platform that meeting planners utilize when looking to find a home for their meeting convention. It gives them the opportunity to put all of the details of their program and say, I want to go to these 6 cities, or I want to be in the Midwest, and then then it's sent out to those particular destinations. And then we work with our hotels in the convention center to see if we can make it happen. So I asked them to put together what were the missed opportunities where Milwaukee wasn't even in the conversation. And I asked them to utilize the comp set listed below, and we'll explain why here, when we look at our loss report. But these are, you can read them there. But in 2024, there was 98 leads that were sent to that collective group of cities. That was between the peak room night of 1,500 to 1,750, which again, we can accommodate here in Milwaukee, but it's just more of a challenge to do so. And there was in 2025, 77 RFPs that were sent out to those cities that we weren't sourced in.
Provide some context. How does these numbers measure to what we do secure? In other words, I'm trying to see how, are we losing half the business we could have gotten, a quarter of the business we could have gotten?
When we look at our,
How many room nights in 2025 were there within 1,800 feet of?
that we lost.
No, that we
No, that
had.
we did.
Oh, that we did. I can pull that
We can
for,
pull
yeah,
that
I
for
can
you.
pull you some of that.
We
information.
average about
Yeah.
370 events a year. Not all of them need to be complete, because remember, we book things that are not just convention center driven.
Right.
So we can pull what we did that use the 1,800 square
Mhm.
footage. Well, and we cannot, we can do it for peak night because they aren't within 1,800 square feet. Because there's some other things, some other factors that play into this.
You see what I'm asking?
Yeah,
I'm trying to get
I
a
do.
sense of
Mhm.
how big a chunk is
Yeah.
this of business?
Right.
Is the percentage of business we do get?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. we can-
And some of it is missed opportunities that are one hotel pieces of business that we don't have meeting space as well as hotel rooms together. So there's a lot of different factors that play into this, but we'll get that for you.
Yeah, and just off the top of my head, I know we were looking comparatively as with the team earlier this week and last year when we looked at, I want to say it was like we had like 9 groups that were of that like over 2,000 peak, and then this upcoming year we have 12 or 13 or 14. It's like we're seeing this shift of larger groups coming into the city, which again, as Peggy or I think Marty mentioned, wasn't necessarily the purpose of the expansion. It was to balancing those two different groups moving in, one moving out. And we do a fantastic job of working with the center and making that happen. But because of the center, because of the attraction that the city is getting, there are larger groups that do want to come here. It's just how willingly are they to work through our challenges to do so. So cities winning the business. And this is just based on our 2025 report. I know the 2024 information might have had some cities listed as well. But when we looked at our top competitors that we're losing to, they're Chicago, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Minneapolis, and Columbus. Some will say that we shouldn't be competing with them, but we do. We compete with every city because again, you never know what's the most important thing for that planner or board of directors for a destination. And so we do see those cities come up a lot when we are putting out bids for opportunities. And one, the common advantage is when you look at the business that they lose or that we lose that they win is because Chicago, a lot of times they can be in one hotel. One hotel, they can have 600, 700 rooms and all of their meeting space is going to be right there. They have greater hotel inventory depth, flexible multi-hotel packages, and then consistent convention center availability. So just wanted to share that information with you as well.
We do know that was discussion on the report. And we just want to make sure that you know that we do compete against these major cities. Now, they're not our comp set. You look at our STAR report, which is the measure of hotel health. We do have the comp set that directly is our competitors with just 2 aspirational being Minneapolis and Detroit, but everyone else is around the same size, Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland. So we're looking at those all the time.
So And there's going to be another document, resource for you, but we really wanted you to hear it from the planners. You know, hearing it from us is one message, but really hearing from the clients that have looked at us, that wanted to come to Milwaukee, that unfortunately weren't able to, in their words, tell you either why or what they would love to see in our city. So I'm not going to read these verbatim to you. Like I said, we're going to share every one of them with you. We have some lengthy letters from some clients that did choose us and are coming here, but talked about a little bit of what they had to overcome in that process. So those will be shared with you. That was all I had.
Yeah, and there's just another
Yeah.
page of people. So like Jamie Oviedo from the National Center for Employee Ownership, she is coming here. They are coming here. They are amazing, but it was a stretch and she has to go back, just like any of us have to go back to our board of directors to understand or to make them understand why they're coming here. And, you know, I think that we have a lot going for us. We talk about our affordability. When you're here, you own the city. Those are things that we can compete with that maybe other cities can't. Like in Vegas, you don't have welcome signs in the Vegas airport because you could be coming into any terminal. There's not signs lining the city. So we do use what we can to make sure we get our fair share of the business, but they have to overcome a lot in order to choose us sometimes when we look at the hotel package. I know we talked about this too, so I just want to kind of go through what we've seen in some of these other convention cities. So, you know, Columbus, Indianapolis, and Kansas City. These are three cities that we compete against, that we were equal and peers to 25 years ago when I started in this business almost 30 years ago now. In 1997, when they were 1998, when they were opening the convention center, I was at the Hilton, and we were the 22nd largest city in the country, and we were ahead of Columbus. I think we were really close to Indianapolis. We were way ahead of Kansas City, and they made serious, significant investments in tourism, in hospitality infrastructure, and they have zoomed past us in both population as well as in what they're doing from a convention standpoint. So Columbus, 1993, the Greater Columbus Convention Center opens as a modern facility. In 1991 to 2001, they have a major expansion. They add 250,000 square feet, bringing them up to 1.7 million square feet. In 2010, they build the Battelle Grand Ballroom, created the largest ballroom in Ohio. And then in 2015 to 17, they do a major renovation and expansion, adding 95,000 square feet to modernize the building. They're currently at 1.8 million square feet, 447,000 square feet of exhibit space. We're at 300,000 square feet of exhibit space. The Hyatt Regency Columbus, which was a long-standing hotel connected to the convention center, built in the 80s, much like our Hyatt, connected via skywalk, long-standing. In 2012, when they did that first expansion, they built the Hilton Columbus, which was a publicly financed headquarter hotel. And then when they did the expansion in 15 is when they started talking about adding more rooms to that hotel, which they did in 2022, bringing it up to 1,000 rooms. The impact, public investment in the headquarters hotel significantly improved their hotel package, their ability to compete against other cities for large citywide conventions. Indianapolis, the original Indiana Convention Center, opened in 1972. In 83 and 96, they had major expansions. 2003, they expanded the convention center to the RCA Dome. In 2008, they did a transformational expansion that moved Indianapolis to the top tier of U.S. convention cities. Right now, they are touting at every trade show $6 billion in both public and private tourism infrastructure that is happening in Indianapolis right now. They built their convention inventory in waves tied to convention center growth. Early connected hotels were the Hyatt Regency, 499 rooms, and the Westin Indianapolis, 575. Their first major expansion in 2001 was the Indianapolis Marriott. In 2011, they opened the JW Marriott with 1,005 rooms, also connected to the convention center. And then opening in 26 or 27 is Signia, which is going to be an 800-room hotel, publicly supported convention hotel. They currently have 4,700 connected hotel rooms. We know we're a long way from that.
Physically connected with skywalks, you mean?
Yeah. So Kansas City, a lot like us, they went a long time without any connected hotel. Well, they had a connected hotel. It's the Marriott, the Muehlebach, which has been there forever. What you'll see is a new modern additional convention hotel. We have 2 convention hotels that do very well for us in the market. They work with us incredibly well. Then we also add in the Spring Hill, but now the Hilton also has the Mark. So that's yet another contract they have to sign. So if they want the original 554 Hilton, then they add in the Mark for another 175 rooms. And then you go into the Hyatt, which gives us a significant portion of their inventory, and then the Spring Hill. So that's 4 contracts right there just to get to our 750 citywide. Kansas City, 1976, the convention center opens. 1994, a major expansion. 2007, another expansion. These investments did not help. They struggled to compete for larger conventions due to the lack of a modern headquarters hotel. Before 2020, Kansas City relied on older properties. The Marriott, 983 rooms, Westin Crown Center, 724, and the Sheraton Kansas City, 720 rooms. The Lowe's opened in 2020, and we compete against them on a regular basis now. They're hosting the World Cup. They're, the things that, and that has nothing to do, I mean, it does have to do with the convention center because they use part of it, but all of these things have helped them to become a major player. So looking at it, we want to plan for the long term. We know right now that we don't need and we couldn't have a convention hotel. It'll take years of planning. It's going to take conversations with the city. It's going to take conversations that we haven't started yet. This report produced and provided us an opportunity to start having these conversations. Our job at Visit Milwaukee in the next 2 years. So we did a strategic plan. Gerard and Grady are also on our board. We've had the board, we've had the public be part of every one of these conversations. Our strategic plan specifically outlines our path forward. We knew that WCD and Marty were commissioning this report. Step 1, what's going to happen with this facility, right? Not this facility, but all 3, the Wisconsin Center District. We are going to RFP later this year for a destination master plan. Most cities, Columbus, Indianapolis, Kansas City, they've all done destination master plans. We know that this is just one piece of making us a desirable destination for visitors, both leisure and convention attendees. And we need to figure out what else we need. Do we need something like a Sky Needle? Do we need something like the Arch in St. Louis? We don't know what that is, but we're going to work with experts, do this for a living in 2027 to tell us what else we need so that we can come to the city and the state and start having conversations. Tourism is an economic driver. We know that it is economic development, and we need to start having those conversations. Possible other paths forward. We could expand our existing hotels. That would be wonderful. It would help us in the short term. If there was some sort of zoning around the convention center that could provide some sort of subsidy to expand the Hilton and the Hyatt, both of which have the ability to expand their existing inventory, that would help us in the short term. Because it would be easier to expand than to build something new. That's going to take a lot longer. But we still want to look at what it looks like, in 10 years. Remember, in 10 years, this expansion will be 10 years old. What is new and what is exciting and what is happening as we welcome ASAE, the absolute World Series or, Super Bowl of our industry to Milwaukee? What's new for them to be talking about, because the expansion will be 10 years old at that point? And what do public-private partnership models look like? So, our goal isn't to prescribe the answer. It's to start having those conversations on a $14 million budget. We can't build a hotel. We can't even, pay to have a big study done of how to do this, but working with partners to figure out how we move forward and make sure that the next generation of hospitality and tourism businesses in the city continue to thrive. I think one of the points I missed was that 28% of all spending in the city of Milwaukee or in the county come from visitors. 28%. That means some of the restaurants that we all love would not exist if we did not have tourism. Some of the shops where people go and buy things would not exist. Our arts and culture. We provide a report every single week in our insights that tell you how much of our spending, or no, maybe it's every month, Claire. but it explains how much of every sector their spending comes from visitors. And I think it's important to look at as we move forward. We want to make sure that we continue to support those locally owned businesses with the tourists. We were part of Downtown 2040. They also identified the need for a convention hotel down the road. We were part of those conversations. We will continue to have discussions with stakeholders. We will continue to make sure that our existing hotels are healthy. We want them to be healthy. We know right now, I mean, our year-end occupancy downtown ended at nearly 63%. It was a slight increase year over year. Our demand finally got back to 2019 numbers, but our supply with smaller hotels has increased by about 14% since then. So we know we have work to do, but our pace report is strong. From a group perspective, getting that group business, that base business on the books, coming from former hoteliers, we know that's important in order to build on it.
How does that 62% compare to some of these other cities? I mean, what is the competition?
They're all in the same. I mean, I think Leslie's got a star report.
You cite them as a huge.
They're higher. I want to say they're in the 70s now again, right? Star
But they're
report.
all like.
I don't think that was in the hundreds.
No, we have a star report. We can
You
send.
have another
Yeah,
report.
yeah, we have a star report that we do that we can send over to you. I didn't.
What star?
It is the Smith Travel Research. It's the indicator of hotel health. So it measures hotel occupancy, hotel average daily rate, RevPAR, which is revenue per available room. And then it also gives you supply, demand, and revenue
By cities.
by city. So we only see the cities by month. So we get a report every month that tells us how we compete against our peer cities. And they're all on there. And that also we send out in our weekly insights as well as the month one every month in our insights.
That's one of the arguments I hear is that current hotel occupancies are lower than the competition.
They are.
Adding supply, less.
But is it chicken or egg? Because they
Well-
added supply, right? And that's what, right.
Right, because Milwaukee is really driving rate as a destination. Yes, our supply or our occupancy is down, but rate is running laps around a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So revenue is up. I
Revenue
mean,
is up.
revenue is only slightly up in 2025 to 2024, and that was because of the impact the week of the RNC had. We would have been up about 7% had we not been up again competing against RNC from 24. But we do continue to see, we've seen increases every year coming out of COVID. And like I said, we're not building for right now. And I say this, if we're not at 70% occupancy in by 2030, then we should be looking at the people who are holding our jobs on this side of the table, right? This is something that we're working for. Unfortunately, we had to come out of COVID where there were, several years of no business, people having to put business back where it was, all of those things. So, we're seeing on our PACE report that we're consistently outpacing prior years. We're up every year through 2030.
We also have, as Peggy mentioned, a number of these cities that have new hotels. Everybody loves something new, shiny, and pretty. The Hilton just completed their renovation in 2024. The Hyatt has yet to go through a renovation. So
Is one planned? People tell me the place is a dump.
We would never say that out loud in front of journalists because we're selling a city and we need that city to be successful. So the Hyatt does a really good job of making sure that they overcome every objection with the way that they do site tours.
And we met with them earlier last week. Their service scores they have really high service scores. They have cleanliness scores. So they are working with what they have the best that they can to ensure that the experience that the attendees do have there is a great one. So they do a fantastic job when our clients come in for a site to go above and beyond to
It's
show
out
them.
of state ownership, I think. correct? Not local.
Let's let them just finish their report and then we can have a discussion.
We're done. Sorry. Yep. Questions?
Okay, first of all, I just want to recognize that Mr. Randall has in attendance. And then I just wanted to say that I'd like to take questions first from committee members that are in the room, and then we can move to committee members that are online. So if you two of you have any
Are
other
there
comments?
benchmarks in the hotel industry as to what constitutes a healthy hotel market? I mean, is it 70%?
It's 70% is what in the past, that's what most people consider a healthy market where other developers would want to come in and develop more hotels. Yes.
We're at 62, 63 according to.
62 for downtown. We're slightly higher for the county.
Oh, we are higher. for
We
the
are a
county.
little higher for the county at the end of last year.
It's the airport primarily drives that, or because there's not a lot of hotels outside the airport downtown.
So, Tosa's in there.
So, okay.
So they finished strong in November and December. It was lagging before that. The industry trends are saying right now that upper upscale and luxury hotels are doing incredibly well. We have upper upscale. We don't have what they would consider in that luxury market, even though we consider Mr. St. Kate, the trade.
The trade is not considered luxury?
No, not by specific.
I get this. I learned that terminology by reading this, so that was useful. To
Yeah.
get those categories.
So some of the lower end hotels have still been suffering and been lagging in recovery coming out of the pandemic. And especially with what's happening right now in the world of tourism with the uncertainty, war, shutdowns, all of those things make it a little difficult for people to plan further ahead for trips. We feel like we're positioned pretty well because we are a drive market. So we see a lot of our leisure coming from within a 6-hour drive time to come and visit Milwaukee, and that sometimes helps us. Whereas other major destinations may have seen more of a lag from the international travel than we have.
Do we have any questions from committee members online?
I would have a question, Madam Chairperson. Great presentation from Visit Milwaukee, and I appreciate that. Really, as I look at our charter, I really don't have any questions with regard to the answer, if you will, to issue number one. Does Milwaukee need to pursue a convention center hotel? I think we've heard overwhelming information that it would benefit us to do so. And even with regard to question number two, where should it be located? With a WCD hat on, I think it's pretty easy for me to say that we would want such a hotel to be located somewhere in close proximity with accessibility to our fantastic, shiny new convention center. But, it's questions 3 and 4 that still kind of is where the rubber meets the road. So I'm wondering, Peggy, do you take a position? You mentioned the hotels in Columbus, excuse me, Indianapolis, and I don't know if Kansas City as well. You mentioned at least Columbus and Indianapolis. These were publicly supported, publicly financed investments. In your destination study that you're going to do, is there any position that Visit Milwaukee would be able to take in terms of the best, I guess, structure for a hotel development project in terms of these questions as to, who should be the catalyst and how should it be financed and built and things of that nature? Because that's where I'm having a problem in terms of understanding WCD's utility in that aspect of this project. I know we need a hotel. I think we need it to be near our center district. I just don't know if we are the right entity to make this go forward, and having more information regarding structures that made these public investments come to life in some of these other cities would be extremely helpful to me.
Sure. So Detroit right now is working on a convention hotel, which I didn't put in here, and it's their convention center authority that is working on this deal.
That owns and operates their convention center as well?
It does.
Okay.
It does. And that's because much like how this project was financed, it doesn't come through taxpayer dollars. It comes through the bonds, which then don't direct,
Supported by taxpayers.
which are supported by taxpayer dollars of food and beverage, car rental, and hotel food and hotel room tax. So that would be the easiest way, Grady, to get it done. I'm not saying it's the only way to get it done. I think that there's still more time like I said, we're not saying this is going to happen tomorrow. So, we haven't met with hotel investors. We don't know what that market looks like. If a developer comes in and says, we want to build this, I've not had a call from a developer that has said, I want to build a convention hotel in your city. And, what's available to me in the way in public financing or TIF support. So those are all things that we still need to look at. I think that is the bulk of what this task force needs to suggest to the larger board is this something we want to at least look at? I wouldn't say it would be definitive because there's still a lot of other factors that Marty and Megan and Kyle can better speak to about what that looks like for the WCD. When it is partially publicly financed, one of the things we see as great for us is that it comes with a certain number of rooms that have to be guaranteed for conventions 18 months out. So in Columbus, when we spoke to our counterparts there, 80% of their inventory 18 months and out has to stay just for convention business that hits the convention center.
So they get to
At the
control the inventory, whereas our partner hotels, it's fantastic to work with. There's no guarantee that they don't have to give us those. They can book a piece of business in the hotel between 2030 right now that would take out their entire hotel inventory in 2030, and the convention center is going to sit empty.
Yeah, that all makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm with Grady. I mean, the hotel be nice, sure.
Right.
Should it be near the convention center? Of course. I mean, that's obvious. But the question is, what financial models are available?
And I think that that's some part of the thing. So as a
That would have been
team,
the study I want.
well, as a
preferred
team,
to see, frankly.
sure. As a team, we're looking at our peer cities. So I had a meeting with Claude. He sent over his study. He's Detroit, showed me exactly what they did and the steps they went to get the public financing through the Convention Center Authority. We're meeting with our peers across the country. Again, that's why this isn't imminent. It's not something that's happening right now, so that we can understand the different ways we could get there, by
So in
2030.
Detroit, that example, their convention authority owns the hotel and contracts with an operator.
I
to
believe,
run
yes.
day-to-day operations.
It's not open yet. It's not built. They're in the process of doing it right now, but I think that's what
And
they're
their
doing,
revenue and expenses are just folded into the overall budget of the convention center operation.
I believe.
That would be the model. Question is,
Marty, do you have something you want to add?
I did. And this is not something that I have already engaged Hunden for, but looking at other or financing models that are available is something that Hunden has done. Steve, you're on the call. Is there anything you can address as far as how that information can become developed or available so that we can look at models to pursue?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we have at the request of the committee started to do is look at other comparable hotels and how they've been financed. And we can provide sort of a very broad overview of the different structures that have been used in some of your competitive marketplaces. And it will provide the range of guidance that you all can consider. And so that's absolutely something that we can do in a very sort of organized and comprehensive way.
Thank you, Steve.
And something that I did just want to point out to the committee is that is the plan for one of our future meetings, is to just have a meeting entirely dedicated to financing options.
And just to add one, that is generally one of the big, I'm going to use the word in quotes, issues, but one of the big considerations in developing a headquarters hotel that needs to be put in place is the financing structure that is most appropriate for a given city and a given market at any point in time. So it is a very worthwhile endeavor to look at that.
Mayor McBride.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Crosby and Alderman Bauman for their good questions and their good statements. I agree with what they've said. I just want to put a stake in the ground here and say I do agree that it's pretty clear that we need another convention center hotel. It's also extremely clear that we have no way of financing it right now, and we're going to need to work very hard on trying to figure that out. But where I want to put the stake in the ground, and I've said this privately to people, including the chair, is Milwaukee's real good at tearing down buildings with no plans and creating parking lots that last for generations. One of them is across the street on Wisconsin Avenue at Bell Phillips Plaza. I remember when there was a hotel there, the Randolph Hotel. So I hope we all agree that we won't have any discussions about tearing down existing buildings wherever they might be until we, first of all, fully agree that there will be a convention center built and that we have a solid financing package available and we are ready to move forward. I have lived too long in my beloved hometown of Milwaukee and Wauwatosa and seen parking lots everywhere in an area that should be more conducive to convention visitors. And one of the things that we briefly talked about here, Visit Milwaukee did, was again the recommendation and the need for developing a 24-hour neighborhood around the convention center. So we won't do that if we continue our quest for tearing down buildings and creating parking lots. So thank you for allowing me to say that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there anything that Milwaukee or the Wisconsin Center District?
No, I mean, we'd like to thank you. I mean, this is hard work and we know this is hard work and it's hard work that we will support you in any way we can. We have the data. We're the ones who talk to meeting planners. Gerard came with us to IMAX last year, heard firsthand from planners who understand the complexity of our current hotel package. And, you know, we want our existing hoteliers to be healthy, to be making money, to be, you know, on the same page. So however we move forward with our destination master plan will be transparent, it will be inclusive. We will make sure that everyone is updated along the way when we start that process.
I have two questions, which are a mix of legal and policy, probably to Wisconsin Center District. Does Chapter 229 permit the Wisconsin Center District to go into? We'll look at that. I believe it defines exposition center as the magic word in the statute. I didn't see hotel among the things that an exposition center can do. Number one, and number two, does the Chapter 229 allow the Wisconsin Center District to expand its footprint? Again, we'll look into that. Direction of the chair and provide a report. In other words, acquire
What do you
additional
mean by that?
property, which then would enable the district's bonding authority to apply. Expand the footprint.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah, I know. Oh, and then, right, we do have the future committee meeting dates and discussion items on here. I do need to change one of our future meetings, so I'll have Robin send out an email later today about that.
Thursday, right? Again?
We will be here on Thursday. That one I don't need to change. Yes. But
We got things to talk about. I mean, anything after today's meeting, that forward is pretty
yeah,
clear.
yeah. And with that, I will take adjourn.
So move.
Second. Thank you, Alderman Bauman. All those in favor? Aye.